Stories allow us to speak our own truths, to tell of our own experiences. I think there are stories hidden in plain sight all the time. Every building you see, every street you walk down, every house you see, you wonder who's stayed there in the past, who has walked the same streets, what was their experience? And that kind of curiosity is what drives a lot of my search. My name is Katie Thornton, and I'm an audio storyteller, a historian, and a National Geographic Digital Storytelling Fellow. I've been interested in sound since I was little. I think my first memory that I ever have is just a single frame, and I just remember my dad's hands putting a record on the record player and pressing play. To me, listening to records, listening to music, it was like I was accessing a historical archive in a way. It was a way that people's voices and stories and art was archived for the masses. I think that in a lot of ways, my interest in storytelling comes from an interest in music and comes from an interest in sort of wanting to create art and tell stories in a way that is public-facing, in a way that doesn't just live in the halls of academia, doesn't just live in a textbook, in a way that people engage with and that they see themselves reflected in. Growing up in Minneapolis, with so many different radio stations, I was so privileged because I could reach into the air and hear the stories of my city and of my state. I can hear so many different perspectives, so many different meanings of what this place is, and so many different stories of people's experiences here. And that's really where I got my start. The first audio story that I had that ran on a large radio station was about skateboarding as somebody who also lives with chronic pain. I had an illness that interfered with my mobility. And after I had made it through really the worst part, I started to push myself to see what my body could do. I started to see my own mobility as absolutely a privilege and something that I just wouldn't take for granted again. Only as an adult, after I'd been through this experience, did it really mean more to me. And so I ended up producing an audio story that was about my experience as somebody who had limitations with my mobility coming into something that I never thought I'd be able to do again. I think it's important to anchor stories in a personal experience because I think you're much more likely to be moved by them. And so if we anchor our historical understanding in personal stories, it becomes much more meaningful. After college, I started working with the local cemetery to tell their historical stories, to tell the stories of the people who were buried there in all of their variety. As I was doing this work, I came to realize that cemeteries as we know them, this sort of Western-style Anglo-descendant cemetery, is increasingly less culturally relevant. We have so many different ways to memorialize people. So much of our lives live online. We have so many digital memorials. We have a sort of digital persona. So I wanted to know, what was the future of memorialization? And that led me to this idea of death in the digital age.
For some people, it's important to have that solidity of a space to go to and put flowers down. And yet other people feel a lot more comfortable remembering somebody in a different way.
And so I wanted to look at how people are creatively adapting memorial spaces to find out how and where we remember the dead and how that's changing.
I can see why people want to go to a space where the ashes are or where a burial has happened, because that's the last physical embodiment of that person. Whether I would want to do that, I think I've not lost anybody that close yet.
I think in all of my work, I want to use stories to help encourage conversation about topics that might be otherwise kind of difficult. My goal is to inspire curiosity in people's surroundings, inspire curiosity in other people, to encourage other people to dig deeper and to see the full picture. My advice for anybody who's just getting started is, first of all, to listen, and second of all, to record. Learning to listen keenly, not thinking about what your next question is, but just listening, is crucial. Everywhere I go, I know that I will never be able to learn all there is to know. As a storyteller, I always want to dig deeper. I want to challenge myself to always learn more. The world becomes a much more interesting place to be when you are curious, when you know that there is a depth and a wealth of stories underneath your feet and surrounding you at every given moment. Curiosity brings a lot of joy to my life, and I hope that my stories can inspire others to have that same sort of curiosity.